But that Mavis, it soars. Y'all give me a deep woman voice, Anita Baker. Her and Tony Braxton, I want to hit them in the back of their head and be like, open your mouth, goddamn. Open your goddamn mouth. Oh, my life, charmed life hit a bump on January 4th, 1952, when her fifth Staples sibling was born. Baby Cynthia's arrival was not met favorably by Mavis, who as the youngest was used to being indulged. But after some initial misgivings, she and Cynthia developed a close relationship. Cynthia, when she was a baby, I was so mad at her, Mavis says. She took my position, but the age difference meant that Cynthia would never fully participate in the family's career. Soon after she was born, the group began to call itself the Staples Singers. In 1953, Pops had Pervis, Cleotha, and Mavis join him around a single microphone on the 2-track recorder to cut crude homemade versions of These Are They, which had been popularized by Dorothy Love Coates and the Gospel Harmonettes, and Faith and Grace, a Pops original. By now, Yvonne, the reluctant singer, was spending most of the school year in Mississippi with Grandma Ware, and no longer regularly participating in the group. Just to give you all a quick flashback, Grandma down in Mississippi had a problem with Mavis because Mavis was humming the blues. Grandma wore that ass out with a switch. Those of us who know what a switch is. If you don't know, God bless you. Yvonne loved the Bible and she loved her grandmother for loving the Bible. So she didn't mind being down there in Mississippi. Pops pressed 500 copies of the 78 RPM single on his vanity label, Royal, which the group hawked at shows. Let me break it down to you. Hawk means sell, okay? Selling illegally, okay? I hope that put that in perspective for you. Evelyn Gay is the cause of us being on record, Mavis says. She talked to Daddy. She said, Staples, I don't know what you got your kids singing, but it's some different stuff, and you should be making records. She introduced Pops to a Chicago businessman, Leonard Allen, who invited the family to cut some tracks for his United record label. United, born in 1951, recorded artists from a cross-section of genres, including jazz, Gene Ammons, Della Reese, blues, Big Walter Horton, Memphis Slim, and gospel, Robert Anderson, The Caravans. The Staples' first session in September 1953 produced a slow, spooky reading of Won't You Sit Down, Servant, released in December as a single. Mavis Staples, voice teacher at Parker High School on Chicago's South Side, didn't get her. My voice was heavy. I used to fight in grammar school down south because my voice was so low and kids would tease me about it, she says. But I was a tomboy who loved to fight. They used to tell me, you sound like a boy. Okay, I'll show you how a boy fights. Didn't I tell you that goddamn Mavis Staples got hands? Man, she got hands. She a cancer, okay? Them cancers, you know, they can be bullies. And I don't know a cancer that can't sing. Now, the sad part about cancers is that they be too busy worried about their families and their men to focus on themselves. It's so many unsung cancers out here. I bet y'all know 1,000 cancers that sing in the choir and are happy to sing in the choir. They never reach for anything past their church, their man, which sometimes is the Lord, their church, and their children. Fast forward a few decades, and Mr. Finch would likely still be exacerbated by his former students' lack of training. My mother's voice was strong, and my grandmother's too. Only difference was my mother couldn't sing. Whenever she started to sing around the house, we'd beg her to stop. In my a cappella choir in high school, I tried to sing with the girls, but I couldn't. Mavis, Mavis, you're singing in the basement again, my teacher, Mr. Finch, would say. You're singing with the boys. I was so embarrassed. I quit the choir because I couldn't sing like Mr. Finch wanted. Name somebody who got a beautiful, deep, low voice. Mavis Staples is, up there, the best to me. Bonnie Pointer. Wait a minute, which one is the one with the very deep voice? I love her too, but it's something about the way that Mavis Staples soars when she sings. I would give it to Toni Braxton because some of y'all love a diva, and that is my Libra sister. But her voice is limited to me. It's limited to just that. But that Mavis, it soars. Y'all give me a deep woman voice, Anita Baker. Her and Toni Braxton, I want to hit them in the back of their head and be like, open your mouth, goddamn. Open your goddamn mouth. From the start, the Staples singers weren't easy to peg. They were a charming, handsome family, even to look at, easy to root for. The gospel music circuit could be unforgiving, though, and there were traditions to be observed, rules that needed to be followed, lines that couldn't be crossed without consequences. The Staples singers evoked a tradition, several traditions really, in a most untraditional way. That old man should just take them kids home. Those kids ought to be in school. Our worshipers would mutter when the Staples first started appearing at Southside churches. The regular gospel singers laughed at us, Pops told Goldmine in 1996. They sing loud, and then we'd get up there with our little. The Census Bureau reported that between 1940 and 1960, the black populations in Chicago nearly tripled to 813,000. Most from the South. Blacks accounted for nearly 1/4 of the city's population in 1960, but up from barely 8% 2 decades later. The city was in many ways as segregated as the South, however, with blacks largely confined to increasingly congested housing on the South Side and facing blatant hiring discriminations in the retail and construction industries. City jobs for black police, firefighters, and bus drivers were largely limited to black neighborhoods with little opportunity for advancement into management positions. For this marginalized community, the black church provided sanctuary, solace, and a place to vent. Just as the slaves and then the sharecroppers found respite in church songs after long days in the fields. The black migrants, factory workers, stockyard laborers, nannies, maids in the northern cities went to church to lift their voice and spirits. Singers and preachers were the leaders and celebrities of this community. Gospel programs often blended songs and sermons in a synergy of salvation. The word of the most revered performers and ministers carried enormous weight. Mahalia Jackson, the reigning queen of gospel, refused to sing the blues, even though she had borrowed certain vocal mannerisms from blues singers. I sing God's music because it makes me feel free, she said. It gives me hope. With the blues, when you finish, you still have the blues. That was the hard line the Staples were up against. And Pops preached a similar stance to his kids. but his music was far less rigid. The Staples essentially made up their own rules, established their own vocabulary, one that borrowed from several genres without really embodying any of them. The Staples singers became free agents at a time when black music was flourishing on the South Side, with gospel, blues, and doo-wop on the ascent and soul rumbling to life. Pops and the family were covered by the largest black-owned record company in the country, VJ, the core of Chicago's Record Row on South Michigan Avenue, along with Chess Records. The label, which opened in 1953, was run by Vivian Carter and Jimmy Bracken, husband and wife R&B and gospel connoisseurs. Bracken had initially approached Pops about recording for VJ shortly after establishing the label in 1953. But the Staples had already struck their deal with United, Pops recalled. But he was in no hurry to make a deal with another label, given the dispiriting experience at United. Instead, he went back to his factory job and borrowed some books from the library about the music business. After 6 months of studying, he touched base with Bracken again, and the label owner assured Pops that he wanted to cut gospel and records with the Staples singers. I'm starting to see that this book is Mavis's way of paying homage to Pops, which I don't mind. Okay, which I really don't mind, because without Pops there would be no Staples singers. Let me put that here and jump over there. Unlike Joe Jackson, who just used his wit, okay, which was a lot of times not enough. Joe Jackson could only take his boys so far. Okay, just right here is where we're going to go, because in all the books I've read, there was never mention of Joe Jackson trying to learn the business, read about the business, become the business, be savvy in the business. Like, I don't see him having anything successful outside of the Jacksons, even though he attempted to. But like I said, Joe Jackson's knowledge was limited. Okay, we know that Joe Jackson is a Leo. Listen, pause. I know we got some church folk over here. I hate to annoy you, but we do zodiacs over here. All right. So I hope that does not deter you from listening to the book and our commentary over here. Okay. But what I will give Pops is indeed a hustler. He knows how to make a dime without clocking in and out every day. He is not afraid to say, I don't know this, so let me go find out how to do this. And that's what I respect the most about Pop Staples. The label's brilliant talent scout, A&R man Ewart Abner, in particular, sensed something that United Records had not. He encouraged the Staples to stay the course, to hew to its down-home approach instead of trying to keep up with trends by adding heavier rhythmic accents or making a sharp turn towards a more easily marketed dance-oriented sound. The family re-entered Universal Recording Studios on the near North Side on September 11th, 1956. As was typical of VJ recording sessions, the Staples split time with two other acts on the label, organist Maceo Woods and the doo-wop group The Spaniels. A drummer, Paul Gussman, also was on hand, but the focus remained on the family's voices and Pop's guitar. Mavis was feeling ill and sat through the 3 hours in the studio to conserve energy as she sang. But she sounds in superb voice nonetheless. When Uncloudy Day took off, the tours got longer and the money got better. After one weekend and 2 shows down south, a Friday carnival in Jackson, and a Saturday night gospel program in New Orleans, Pop came home with nearly $800 in his pocket. I had to make a career choice, Pop said with a laugh. I was making $65 a week at the steel mill in Gary, and I felt I couldn't afford to quit. But we got down to Jackson, and the Masonic Temple was packed. We tore the house down in New Orleans. I could hardly get in the place. They gave us $300 plus a $50 bonus. When we got home, I told my wife I made more in a weekend than in a month on the job in the steel mill. She said, "Pop, it's time to go sing with your family." So if I don't say it, y'all won't do it. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and tip your favorite narrator via Cash App and NayRob on YouTube. And if you're not already a part of this book club, please hit the Patreon link below and or the join button here on the YouTube. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow for, what is this, part 4? Is this part 4? Part 4. I hope you enjoyed 1, 2, and 3. Is this part 4? I don't know. But anyway, love bugs. Remember this, the same people you meet on the way up will always be the same people that you meet on the way down. My naysayers, my patron loves. Have a good one. Peace.